Fix it up. Okay, Mishka, here's what happened. In the middle of all of that, right when we were talking about Christ Mass and bringing you that information, then the system decided that it wanted to crash, or the demonics decided that they needed to crash it because there was too much truth going forth. So since that has occurred, and this is where we are, then we're going to continue on and just move forward. This is going to be like the part 2 of all of that, and we're just going to keep on going now. I don't even really care if it crashes again. I'm just going to come back and we're just going to get in again. So basically I have to start all over by bringing different things up because things are not on screen and in place where they were when we were on last time. So it shut down a lot of systems. It took off a lot of the documentation that I had up on the screen for you guys. Let's just hope that the journal notes, again, they're still here. Okay, so we'll continue with the journal notes. That's a good thing. So I'll be doing some system maintenance and things like that, digging through the system and seeing, you know, what I can turn on and what I can turn off, and see just what we can do, because this technology, again, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places. And because that spiritual wickedness doesn't want this truth to go forward, it will do things just like this. And I am used to this occurring. I know that it occurs. So don't you be frazzled by it, because I'm not frazzled by it. I just know that we just have to do more work in the spirit realm, and in order to keep things like this from occurring as often as they do. So I think when we took off, we were looking at Mark. Where he said unto them, a prophet is not without honor. And so we were talking about how there was no J until the European got a hold of our scriptures and our scrolls and turned them into books. And I was showing you that in the 1611 there was no J's, and we were moving forward talking about the different things that you do as Christians, calling yourselves Christians and pretending in effigy to be Hebrews, because what you're doing is you are pretending. There is no such thing as a Christian. This word is not meant for anyone else but the Hebrews. This book was written to a particular people. So listen, if my wife wrote me a letter and she wrote me all kind of lovelies, you can't pick up that letter and pretend that she's writing that letter to you, because it's not addressed to you. It's addressed to the Hebrews. It's not addressed to any Gentile. It's not addressed to anyone else. It's the story of, about, and for the Hebrews. Okay? So someone else came along, picked the book up, and decided that they wanted to worship this God, and then they called themselves by the name of the book, and it's not even addressed to them. This letter is written to a house that is in captivity right now. So my question to you is that have you ever been a slave? Was your people ever taken into captivity? Because that's who this book is written to. Okay, and I just showed you a little while ago that on the right out here, the door of no return indicates that this book was written to the Hebrews and to the Hebrews only, because it says right there, Kingdom of Judah. And who in the Bible do you read about? Do you not read about Judah in the Bible? Do you not read about Jerusalem in the Bible? Then how could this possibly be a book to you? How could this letter be possibly written to you? It's not written to you. It is someone else's letter, and you have usurped it, or your people have usurped it. You know, you say your daddy's a pastor. We don't have pastors. We have rabbis. Okay? You say your daddy's in a church. We don't have churches. We have synagogues. Okay? You need to ask yourself a question: where'd your daddy get this from? Because your daddy is a thief. And let me tell you, the Most High God of Israel does not like thieves. If your daddy is a pastor, then he's read the 10 Commandments. Thou shalt not steal. Whoops, I think your daddy stole something. So you might want to talk to your daddy about his thievery. Because I can show you and prove to you right here who I am and where I'm from. I want you to prove I'm not. Matter of fact, I dare you to prove I'm not. Because it's going to cost you about $300, like it cost me to find out. See, and here's the thing. You Europeans, you make a joke. If you want to hide something, I'm not going to say it the way you say it, but say you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book because they don't read. Well, if they do read, make it expensive because they're not going to spend the money for it. So when I did my DNA, it was $2.99. You can get it done for a lot cheaper now, but you know what? It was $2.99 when I did mine, and guess what? I paid it, and I found out. And now that I know, you can't take it from me. I don't care what you say. And I'm willing to slap your daddy because of it. So bring me your pastor. Bring me your bishop. You can bring me your pope. He rides around in an armor-plated little mobile because he knows he's a fake. He knows somebody might want to take a shot at him. I'll slap your pope. I ain't scared. Because I know somebody who got something for him. Because I know who I am. And the evidence is right here on the screen. This is what you did. You and your people did this. This is how you got your privilege. By subjugating people this way. You always go into somebody's country and steal their resources. And in order for you to take their resources, you got to do something to the people so you can get in there and do something with, with the resources. But that's what it's all about. And it's right there. Kingdom of Judah, Slave Coast. Right next to it is the Gold Coast. It doesn't say Slave Coast over there. It says Gold Coast. And right next to this is Slave Coast. So the reason why I put these pictures side by side is so that you can see that I'm not faking this. We didn't create these. That's Google's maps. You got to argue with Google about that map. Google is the one that put Waida on the screen and showed you that that's the door of no return. You got to argue with Google about that one. This one over here is a map that was done in 1647 by some Portuguese European cartographer, And you can see right here, that's spelled Negroland. That said Negro land. Didn't I just show you in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary that Ham was the progenitor of all the dark races, but not the Negroes? That says Negro land right there. Now, who else? There was no white people in Africa during this time. So who else are they talking about? See, I don't care how you try to convince yourself that this is all about you. There's nothing in here that has anything to do with Christianity. Not a thing. So, part 2 to you. All right. So we go back over here to Esau, and we take a look at this in Mark 6:4. You see what Mark is saying? That he was working among his own, and his own didn't even want to receive him. Okay? Right? So we're going to scoot right along. John, we're going to look at John. Right here, John 1:11. John 1:11 said, we're going to back up to John 1:8. Okay? No, let's go all the way back to the beginning. The Word became flesh. John 1:1. This is John talking. Now, this John that we're talking to, that we're listening to right now, this is Christ's cousin. This is the one they call John the Baptist. Okay? Right? This is John talking. This John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yahweh, or Elohim. God is not a person. God is a group of people. Okay? Oh, I know you having a problem. What are you talking about? Oh, you mixing up the scriptures. You're trying to say something else. That's not what it means. That's not what it means. Okay, that's not what it means. Okay, all right. I'm gonna show you something. So Genesis 1:26, and God, and that's the same God, right? Oh, you know what? Let's do it like this. Let's get the Strongs out here. Okay. Now, so God is Hebrew 4:30. Everywhere you see this word is Hebrew 4:30, right? Hebrew 4:30 says Elohim. You see that? Elohim. Okay? And we want to know what the meaning of Elohim is, right? Elohim is plural. Not singular, plural. Gods, in the ordinary sense, it's a group of gods. The Elohim are talking. Not just one person, but the Elohim, the Godhead. This is not even the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. That's not even them talking, right? It's all of the Godhead. His entire council is all there when they made this this affirmation, because this was an affirmation that brought things into existence. And God, the Elohim, said, "Let who? Let who? Let who?" Did he say? Did it say, "Let me"? How about I'm going to? How about maybe I think I'm just going to do this? And no, let us make man in our image. How about let me make man in my image? See, that's singular. But when it says let us make man in our image, that's plural. Okay? Hebrew 4:30. Okay? Hebrew 4:30. Right? We're going to look at John 1:1. We're going to go back to John 1:1. Go right back up here. All right? Right? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with who? Theos is God, but it's telling you a deity, a supreme divinity, figuratively a magistrate, a Hebraism. It's a Hebraism. The Word was part of the Godhead. The Word was standing there as one of the ones who said, "Let us." That's why you don't get the definition. It's Theos. The definition is that this word that we're speaking about right here is one of the Godhead that was standing around when the us was and the our was. Let us make man in our image. Okay? You have to read this with understanding. You just can't throw this out there and just say that that's just one person. No. Elohim is plural. The Word became flesh. Okay? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yahuwah, the Elohim. And the Word was Yahuwah, the Elohim. And the same was in the beginning with Yahuwah, the Elohim. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. In him, who, Yeshua, was life, and that life was the light of men. And that light shined in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. In other words, he walked among men, and they didn't know who he was. And that man, there was a man sent from the Elohim, or sent from Yahuwah, whose name was John. That same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but he was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. What world? The Hebrew world. Because there was no other world that he was talking to. There was no other world that he was dealing with. This book was written to the Hebrews. He didn't come here for the world. He only came here for his own, right? Oh, I spoke too soon. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. He came, who was his own? The Hebrews. The Greeks weren't his own. The Romans weren't his own. The Italians, the Nicolaitans, how about those people over there in Sardis? They weren't his own. But he came unto his own, and his own received him not. But as many of who? As many as of his own that received him, to them he gave the power to become the sons of the Elohim, or the sons of Yahuwah, even to them that believed on his name. Okay? You got to read, you got to understand who's being spoken of here. This book was written to a particular people, a specific people. Okay? Look at this. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Yeshua knew that his hour was coming, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved who? Who did he love? He loved his own which were in the world. No, he loved some Gentiles, right? No, maybe he loved some Greeks and a few Romans on top of that. No, he loved his own. Some chocolate folk just like him. That's what he loved. And it says he loved them to the end. And the supper was it. Now, hold on. That's one of the reasons why I got going on this, right? Because, see, you guys got this thing going about a piece of bread and some wine. Where'd that come from? Where'd that come from? Because they sat down and ate a meal. I'm going to show it to you. He sat down and ate a meal. This says in 13:2 of John that when the supper was ended, supper ended. How you gonna have supper and all you have is a piece of bread and some wine? That's not a meal. That's a piece of bread and some wine. Supper was ended, and that's when the devil, the same one who's been crashing my computer all night, the same one I had to do battle with last night because he was trying to wreak havoc in my house. Don't say he can't get into people because he messed with Judas and made Judas turn around and betray him. It says it right there on the page. Act like you know something. Because you don't. This is not your book, Mr. Christian, Sister Christian. It's not your book. Now, see, here's the thing. I have Christians all the time who ask me to play with them and worship with them, and I do. You know why? Because there's no harm in them worshiping the Most High God of Israel. There's no harm in them praising Him. None. I'll go praise right along with them. I'll go worship right along with them. Why? Because it's my God. It's Yeshua. It's Yahuwah. It's Yahweh. I'll go with you. Man, I'll play music all day with you. You lifting up His name. I'm glad to be with you lifting up His name. But you need to understand that this is not, I mean, you're worshiping Him, but He's not your God. See, you converted onto something. I was born for this. You converted. I'm chosen. I'm supposed to be doing this. You converted. That's the difference. It's just like this. I have stepbrothers and sisters, but I have my father. Okay? I have a half sister. She and I, we share the same father. But her brothers and sisters are not any blood relation to me. But my dad raised them. And I consider them my brothers and sisters. They love my dad just like if he was their dad. But he's not. Well, he's their dad, but he's not their biological father. See, so they got brought on board and allowed to be on board by His good graces and His love. But I'm His son. I'm the legal heir. I'm His son. Now my other brothers, they're my brothers, but they're not biological brothers. They can get on board with this. They want to worship my father and praise my father. Man, I'll get right down with you. No problem, because it's our dad. He's my biological father. He's just your dad. I'm not going to slam you because, you know, you're worshiping and praising my father. No. Because He's going to show you love just like He shows me love. But you can't inherit. You're not going to inherit. Now, when the time comes, when everything is handed out and we get to go home, you get to come too. He'll let you come, but you don't get to inherit. See, we get to go into the city and hang out in the city and rule with Him. You get to live around us and among us, but you don't get to inherit. It's in the scriptures. Don't get mad at me. I didn't write it. It's in there. So Christians ask me all the time, will I pray with them? Will I come, yes, absolutely. And I don't hold this stuff over their head. I don't get in their faces with this. That's not what this is about. It's about that right now because I'm teaching you something. I'm teaching you some truth, but that's not what it's about when I'm with them. And when we get together and we're just hanging out, we're just talking, and we're all just his children, this is not what we're talking about. But if we start breaking open these scriptures and I start teaching, I have to tell you the truth. I have to show you what's really on them pages. This book is not written to you. It's written to me. Now, you can think it's written to you all you want to, but that just because you think that doesn't make it true. Okay? So when he talks about his own, he's talking about his own, right? Because the devil, the Satan, serpent, got into Judas and made him betray him in that way. Okay? So we deal with that, right? And so John 13:1, we talked about the Feast of the Passover. Okay. All right. So we got into that. All right. Now I'm just going to move along because we had a couple of crashes, and I'm trying to finish up here. So Jeremiah 50:6. So we're talking about his own. He says, my people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place. Who people? Who? Israel. This book is written to Israel. It's not, he didn't write this to no Christians in Rome, in Sardis. He wrote this book about Israel. My people have been lost sheep. Their shepherds, their bishops and their synagogues have caused them to go astray. Right? He's talking about his people. Okay? You get that? Matthew 10:6. Matthew 10:5. These 12 Yashua sent forth and commanded them, saying, go not in the way of the Gentiles. Wait, hold up now. He said don't go to the Christians? He said don't go into any city of the Samaritans. Wait a minute, I can't go to Samaria? Why? Go ye rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Israel was the house that was lost. We're talking about his own. His own. As you go preach, saying the kingdom of heaven is at hand. In other words, as you go saying, look, it's time to come home. It's time to get together. Stop doing these Gentile ways. Stop living like Romans. Stop living like Samaritans. It's time to come back and start getting your Hebrew thing back together. Heal the sick. They're sick in the mind. Cleanse the lepers. Raise the dead. Cast out devils. Freely you receive, freely you give. Go in there and start. That's what I was doing yesterday, last night, when the brother asked me, is everything all right? I'm in here doing battle. I'm in here casting out devils out of my house. I'm the priest of this household. That's what I'm supposed to do. Every man, if you're a man of your household, you're supposed to be the priest of your household. And if you're not holding up the standard, that's why your house is in disarray. That's why it's not in order. Let me tell you something. If my house was not in order, they wouldn't have called me to say, go get that baby. They wouldn't have called me. They'd have tried to figure it out on their own. Okay? For the ones that know me and know what I'm about, they was like, we need your help. We got a baby out of bounds. We got a sheep that's lost. We need you, the shepherd, to go get that sheep. I burnt rubber. I had to. I'm the priest of my household, right? Matthew 15:24, but he answered and said, I am not sent but unto who? The lost sheep of the house of Israel. This is right here in the scriptures. Y'all, let's read the story. And Yashua went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon. Okay? And behold, and look, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast. Right? So a Canaanite, another black woman who was living in Tyre and Sidon, came out and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. Now first, did she ask him for anything of herself? Did she say, I'm broke and I need help? No, she said, my daughter. She wasn't asking for nothing for herself. And he answered her not a word. He didn't say nothing. He sat there and just, she was talking to him. He didn't say anything. I can imagine he just probably turned his head and was looking in the other direction like, I know you're not talking to me, girl. Little chocolate thing. What you want? I'm not, You see, because this is a Hamite. This is not a Semite. It's a Hamite. This is a Hamite. A Hamite did this. Okay? See, y'all, you think I'm playing. You think I'm playing. So we got to do this again. You think I'm playing? We got to do this again. Okay. So we're gonna go over here and let me do this again because you're not quite understanding what we're talking about. We're gonna do this again, and I hope y'all get some understanding out of this. Okay. We're gonna do this again because it goes like this. We have to do this periodically because you guys don't quite understand what be going down when we say these things. Okay. So now let's get it right. Let's get it right. Come on here. I'm trying to make this thing do this thing. It doesn't want to do it. It doesn't want to do it. Okay, let's do it like this. I'm trying to do this thing. All right, now look at here. Let me show you this, people. Now, just for the sake of argument, Ham, born probably 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood, became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes. Listen. The Egyptians, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, and the Canaanites. Did not the scripture just say that this was a woman who came out of the coast of Tyre who was a Canaanite? Ham is the progenitor of the dark races. This means this woman was a dark-skinned woman. Okay? I didn't write this. The father wrote this, and the definition came from one of your European scholars. So don't get mad at me. I'm just explaining it to you, Lucy. She's a Canaanite, a dark-skinned woman, another black woman talking to a Semite. She's a Hamite. And what did he say to her? He said nothing, not a word. And the disciples came over and was like, hey, check this out, Yashua, man. Look, can we just send this chick away? I mean, you know, man, she keep talking and, man, she crying after us. And, man, can we just send her away? And he turned around and looked at her and he said, I'm not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. In other words, I'm here for the Shemites, not for the Hamites. I didn't come for you. I came for them. It's right here, y'all. I didn't write this. Then she came and she worshiped him. You know what that means? That means she fell down at his feet. She was probably kissing all on his toes. And she said, Yahuwah, help me. Help me. She wasn't asking for herself. She was asking for her daughter. She was begging at this point, Yahuwah, help me. Please help me. And that's why the disciples are like, man, well, she won't even leave us alone. Man, can we get rid of her? We're not here for her. Can we get rid of her? It says right here that she was a Canaanite that came out of the coast of Sidon. She was another black woman. But she was not from Sem. She was from Ham. And she said, Yahuwah, help me. And he answered and said to her, he said, it is not right for me to take the bread of the children and give it to the dogs. He called her a dog straight up. Right there, he called her a dog. He said, it is not right for me to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs. And you know what she said? She admitted that she was a dog. She knew that this was not for her. She knew that she was not supposed to get any of these blessings. She said, truth, Yahuwah, that's true. But you know what she said next? She said, but look, even the dogs eat the crumbs from the master's table. She said crumbs. She didn't say, give me a chicken thigh, give me a leg, I want some breast meat, give me some of that tri-tip over there. She said crumbs. Crumbs. The crumbs. She said, even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. Now see, then he had to turn around and look at her. He said, woman, great is your faith. She said, be it unto you as you wish. You know, and her daughter was made whole that very hour. Okay? He told her that he didn't come but for the lost sheep of Israel. See, and the cold part about it is, here's what I want y'all to understand. Some of these Europeans, like my friend that asked me to come and play with them, I'll never tell them no because, you know, I'm down to worship anytime. I'm down to praise anytime. The thing of it is that some of them have more faith in our Father than we do. A lot of them have more faith and more belief in our structures than we do. We so busy playing with it, they out here living it, walking it out. See, and those are the ones I run with. Those are the ones that I run with. Those are the sheep that I run with. Because if you believe that deeply and you're willing to put your life on the line, look, I'm with you. I'm with you. Because I'm going to tell you straight up. I'm going to tell you straight up. See, because for me, when it was like that, and I was out there living that right there, living this, can't see this. Now it's getting dark in here. Yeah, would you close them windows right there? Girl, please. I'm trying to see if I can. Because this all it's going to do is make me dark. I need to have it in my face. But these right here, this one, that's my license. This is the ordination. You want to hit that light right there? It might not help. It might not help much. Turn it to your right. Yeah, well, that's not, no, it didn't do anything. I'm going to have to get one over here and point it in my face. But this is my license, my ordination, and that's the license up there. But see, when I was out there running with it hard, that's what I was into. I was doing that, okay, on a Christian level, because I thought I was right. I didn't know I didn't know anything about Hebrews. It wasn't until I got with Pastor Murray that I started understanding the Hebrews. No, it's cool. It's cool. You can leave it there. It's all right. It's all right. She's trying to be my little studio aide in the back. I got you. I got you. My little niece, man. I love that girl. Now we'll work it out. We'll work it out another way, baby. It's all good. So what I'm showing you is that this stuff is, we've been indoctrinated into this for so long, and so many people have come to this word like this through that, okay, through Christianity. They've come to Christianity through this word, and they're using this word for Christianity, but it's not. It's Hebrew. It's Hebrew. And the sooner we learn that, the sooner that we get it all together, the better it's going to be for all of us. But it's okay. That's all right. It's not going to do it, honey. It's not going to do it. It has to be over there pointing this way. But it's okay. It's all right. It's all right. So anyway, let's jump back into this e-source so we can finish this up, because we're almost done here, y'all. All right. So then we have that he came into his own. So he's showing here that he did not come for anybody else but the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Okay. That's Matthew 15:24. That whole story is in there. And we're going to look at Luke real fast. Okay, here's Luke. Look at Luke real fast. Bring Luke up on the screen, right? And so the parable of the lost sheep. So then drew near unto him all the publicans. These were the politicians, right? And the sinners to hear him, right? Because the politicians in those days was looked at as, it was looked down upon, right? And the Pharisees and the scribes murmured, saying, this man, he receives sinners and he eats with them. Okay? They looked down their nose, and he spake this parable unto them, saying, what man of you having 100 sheep, if he lose one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after that one that's lost until he find it? And when he find it, he put it up on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he come home, he called together all his friends and neighbors, saying, rejoice with me, or hey, come on, get down, man, having a party, man. I found my sheep. It was lost. I got it. I found it. Because believe me, they all know that he lost the sheep. Everybody, if he lose one, everybody's going to know. He's going to run and tell everybody, look, I lost it. Anybody seen my sheep? I lost one. I lost it. I can't find it. Man, help me look for my sheep. And when he finds it, he's going to run and tell all of them that he found it. And they're all going to be trying to rejoice with him. They're going to throw a party. They're going to have a big old party because he found his sheep. Right? That's why he came to gather the lost house, the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Okay? Then he said, I say unto you that likewise joy shall be in heaven over one sinner that repents. A sinner is a Hebrew who realizes that he's been living in a Greek situation or a Roman situation, and he comes back home to his Hebrewness, if that's even a word. But he gets himself back together and he starts following Torah and Tanakh again, and stop following a pagan religion like Christianity. Christianity's full of paganism. Go back and read, go back and watch the videos on the page, Pagan Christianity, part 1, 2, 3, and 4. I got them all right there. Read it. Look at it. Think I'm lying. My rabbi did that one, and he did it very well. And he shows you that he got all of his information out of a book that cost $24,000. See, when they don't want you to know it, they make the price so high that you can't afford it. I don't know how Rabbi got that book. I don't know how he got his hands on that book, but he got his hands on it to show you the information. That's why you should watch it. Because when they don't want you to know it, even some of you Europeans, they got some secrets for you guys, right? And they don't want you to know something, they put it in the book and they make the price real expensive so that you can't figure it out. You can't know it. And if you ever do figure it out, I got another teaching on that. I'm gonna show you that. When they got a teaching on that, when if you ever do figure it out, they got a lie already prepared to tell you that that's not the case and that it's not true. I got the paperwork. I'll show you that one. All right. So then we're down at that's Luke. So let's look at Luke 15:6. Okay, we're at Luke 15:6. We got that one already because it was about the lost sheep. Okay, so here we go. It's the Last Supper, right? How did we go from supper to bread and wine? Did I cover this already? I think I was doing some of this already. All right. So anyway, then the computer crashed. I'm not sure, but we're just gonna go with it, right? So the day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Just having the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is during the time when the disciples have to show themselves at the temple in Jerusalem 3 times a year. That's something that my brother's teaching me about. That's the reason why we got to go to Israel next year. So we got to show ourselves in the temple 3 times a year. This is Matthew 26 and verse 17, y'all. Matthew 26:17. We're gonna go in here, right? So this is when Judas. Oh, we was talking about something else, but we saw that the devil got into Judas and made him betray Yeshua. So it was the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread when the disciples came to Yeshua saying to him, "Where do you want us to prepare the meal for you to eat the Passover?" Okay. Now I'm not speaking in this 1611 or this King James English. I'm speaking it the American way. Where do you want us to prepare the meal to eat for Passover? That you want to eat for Passover. That's 26, 17, 18. He said, "Go into the city, and there's a man, and when you see him, say unto him, my master said, my time is at hand, and I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples." And the disciples did as they were told, and that he appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Okay, I want you to listen to me because I'm gonna read this in a couple different ways from a couple different people, and you're gonna see what's going on here. So the disciples did that they were told, and they made ready the Passover. How do you make ready the Passover? How do you do it? When you make ready the Passover, something has to die because they're having a meal. They're not eating a piece of bread and having wine. You don't have to kill anything to have a piece of bread and wine. Okay? Passover is about the Passover lamb. Think about it. What happened during the Passover? They were in Egypt, and Moses had to go to Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh, "Let my people go." The father told Moses that there was going to be some death in Egypt if Pharaoh don't let my people go. So Pharaoh would not let the people go, or Pharaoh simply means house of the king. The king that was on the throne at the time would not let the people go. So the father said to Moses, "Tell them to kill the Passover lamb." Here's what's getting ready to happen. This is how you get Passover. Everybody had to kill a lamb. They had to take the blood of the lamb and put it over their doorposts. And then the father then they had to eat the meal. They had to pack up and they had to eat the whole lamb that night. The reason why is because they was leaving in the morning. Nothing was supposed to be left over. If you didn't eat it all, you were supposed to burn the rest of it. Okay? Go read the story. See what it's about. I'm telling you, this is Passover, not Easter. Okay? This is what it's about. They put the blood over the doorpost, and then the father sent the death angel into Egypt. And everybody who was found that did not have blood over their doorpost, their firstborn died. Their firstborn of the children died. Now listen, not only did the Israelites do this, but a whole bunch of Egyptians did it too because they knew about the God of Israel. And they knew that he wasn't playing. So they put blood over their doorposts too. They were like, "Hey man, the Israelites is putting blood over their doorposts, man, because God coming tonight, he gonna kill some folks. You know, I don't want little Michael to die, man. And we don't want Nene and them to die." So everybody started putting blood over their doorposts. When the death angel came, it didn't matter. If you had blood over your doorpost, no matter who you were, you could have been a German, you could have been a Roman, you could have been from Sidon or Crete or whatever. If you had blood over your doorpost, your firstborn didn't die. Pharaoh laughed at it, and his son died. And when he woke up to a dead son, that's when he kicked Israel out. Read the story, because Israel went out, and then a mixed multitude went out right behind them. That means there was more people living in Egypt than just Egyptians. Mixed multitude means mixed. A whole bunch of other people. Multitude means a ton of other people. So a mixed group of a ton of whole people came out behind Israel. And they left with the wealth of Egypt. Okay? So they had to go. That's how you get the Passover. They had to kill something. Right? So they get over here. The disciples did as they was told. And when evening came, he sat down with the 12 and they did eat. What did they eat? Bread, drinks, and wine. Wrong. They had a meal. Okay? I'm going to show you they had a meal. That's Matthew 26:20. All right. We're going to go 26:26. All right. Jump 26:26. Institution of the and as they were eating what? They were eating a supper. How do you know they were eating a supper? Because in the next breath it says he took some bread. So obviously they weren't eating bread, because you don't be eating and then you take some bread. Because if you're already eating on bread, how are you going to take bread if you're already eating on bread? You were eating something else. He took some bread, he blessed it, and he broke it in half. He gave it to his disciples. He said, take, eat, this is my body. Then he took a cup and he gave thanks, and he gave it to them, and he said, drink, eat all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for you in the remission of sins. He was sitting there talking to Israelites. There were no Christians sitting there with him. There were no Europeans sitting there with him. There were no Gentiles sitting there with him. No Romans, no Greeks, no. He was sitting with his 12 disciples, and every last one of them was a Hebrew, a brown-skinned man. Okay, that's what you need to get to understand. You got to get that. You got to understand that. Jump to Mark 14 and 12. So we go to Mark 14. When we start with 12, well, 12 is because that's where I found the verse, but we might get in front of that, right? So it was the first day of unleavened bread when they what? What did they do? They killed the Passover. They killed the Passover. And the disciples said, okay, the lamb is dead. Where do you want us to go to prepare it? Because you're not going to eat it raw. You got to cook it, right? They got to go prepare it. He says, where do you want us to take it so that we can prepare it so you can eat the Passover? And he sent forth 2 of his disciples and said, go into the city. When you get in the city, you're going to meet a man carrying a pitcher of water. Follow him. And wherever he go in, say to him, to the good man of the house, my master says, where's the guest chamber? Because this is where he wants to have his meal tonight. They got to have a place to go set it up for them to go eat, right? It's the same story. It just goes into a little bit more detail. The other one said they ate the dinner. They had the supper. This one said they had to kill it first. You have to kill the Passover lamb. In order to have a Passover, you got to kill a Passover lamb. You can read the rest of that yourself. I'm gonna skip right through it. We're gonna jump into Luke because we want to see Luke's side of the tale. Luke 22, y'all. Let's go to Luke 22, and we'll run down to verse 14. It's the institution of the Lord's Supper is what we're looking at. How we got to the supper of how these people started eating bread and drinking wine. Okay. When the hour was come, he sat down at the 12 apostles with him, and he said unto them, with desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. What is the Passover he's trying to eat? That lamb they killed. They killed a lamb. He said, for I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of Yahuwah. Okay, and he took the cup and he gave thanks. He said, take this and divide it among yourselves. See, they jumping. He didn't even get to the bread yet. Well, he just got to the bread. But they were eating a meal. And then he took the cup and gave thanks. And then he took the bread, right? And gave thanks. Likewise, after, look it down to 20. Look down verse 20. Likewise, also after the cup after supper, saying, so that means they'd already eaten. It wasn't all about bread and wine. They was already eating. This cup is the New Testament in my blood. So after we got finished giving thanks, he picked the cup up again after supper and handed it to them. Okay? I'm just pushing through this so we can get through this because, like I said, you know, we had a crash going on, and I'm trying to push right on through. You can read this stuff yourself. I'm giving you the scriptures. You can read it yourself. Now, before the feast of the Passover, when Yeshua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart this world unto the Father, having loved his own, he loved his own which were in the world. He loved them unto the end of the world. Okay? And the supper being ended, the devil having now been put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him. See, Yeshua, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands and that he was come from Yahuwah and he went to Yahuwah, he riseth from the supper and laid his garments. See, they were eating. They weren't just sitting down having bread and drinking wine. He laid all his clothes to the side, his garments, and he took a towel. He tied it around his waist. When you tie a towel around your waist, that means you girt yourself. Okay? There's a number of different ways you can girt yourself. You can pull your garments up between your legs, and you can tie them so that they don't fall down, so you can run and you can fight. That's girding yourself. But he took his garments off, and he tied a towel around his waist, and he started washing their feet with the towel that he had tied around his waist. Okay? We're going to go to Acts 2:1. Right? That's how we get to Acts 2:1. I'm going to tell you that the computer is starting to act up and do some funny things already, so we're going to push right through this. And because I don't want it to crash again. If it crashes again, we won't be able to make it through the last one because I'm going to have to tear it apart and see what's going on down in there. Because something funny on the inside is acting. Things been running fine for days, weeks, months, the whole nine. Nothing is going on than what has already occurred in the last couple of hours. Okay, what I just showed you before when the battle started last night. So this is something that's happening in the spiritual realm that I got to get in here. I might have to lay hands on my PC. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. This is what I want you to see. Okay. Acts 2:1 didn't go to 2:1. And they were all in one accord, and suddenly there came a sound from heaven, or not from heaven, because they're all in the big old room. This was happening above their heads, right? You're in a big room, and the sound came from above your head, right? It sounded like a rushing wind. You're inside of a room, and it filled the whole house where they were sitting. So it couldn't have came from heaven, because they didn't have an open ceiling where they were looking straight up to the sky, right? So this is somebody else telling you this story, and they're using these words. It came from heaven, you know. They're making it sound all spiritual, whatever. You got to use common sense with this. They're sitting in a room, just like you're sitting in your living room, right? You hear a noise that's happening outside your house, and it's a helicopter. Is that coming from heaven? No, it's outside your house. It might be just above your house, but this is the speech that they used back in the day. This is how they spoke back in the day. It was outside your house, above your house, but it's not coming from heaven. It's just outside. But you're sitting in a room with a roof on it. So you hear the sound of a rushing wind. Okay? Which it could have been really extremely windy outside. But a euphemism, a soliloquy, a Hebraism is what they speak with. And this is what the translators were trying to use when they gave you this word heaven. And it filled the whole house where they were sitting. In other words, it was so loud they all heard it. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. So they got to see this twinkling kind of thing happening in the room. Okay? And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other languages. A tongue is not some spiritual woo, 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 woo type thing. Tongue simply means language. As the Spirit gave them utterance, the Spirit helped them speak in other languages. They didn't speak in other tongues. Listen, if somebody take your tongue out your face and put another tongue in your mouth, it's not going to be something that you're going to see yourself getting smacked with. It simply means they spake. They began to speak with other languages. That's all a tongue means. Okay? As the Spirit allowed them to speak or utter that other language. Now, in Jerusalem, there was a whole bunch of Israelites. They were devout men. That means that they followed the law and the prophets. In order to be devout, you had to follow Torah and Tanakh. Now these men were scattered out of every nation under heaven. How did they get to Jerusalem, and why were they there? Because 3 times a year you have to present yourself in Jerusalem. Only the men. It's only the men. You can bring your wives in the whole night, but this meeting right here, this was all about the men. This is how the Hebrew men do their thing. This is something that I'm learning from my boy Ashira right now. Kenyon is teaching me this. That's why we go into Israel. Because 3 times a year, you're supposed to present yourself. That's why they were there. This was at Pentecost. Okay? When Pentecost was fully come, right? They were talking about the feast. It was one of the feasts was going on then. In the last scripture we was reading about one of the feasts. This is during that time. That's why they were there. It was a feast time, and this is why they were there. So they were all there, men, because Israel had been scattered throughout all the nations. It says they were devout men. They were men who were following the law and the Tanakh, but they lived in other nations. I'm going to show you. And when it was noised abroad, the multitude came together, and they were confounded because every man had heard them speak in his own language. Didn't I just tell you they were speaking in another language? And that tongues was not some old spiritual woo 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 type thing. They were speaking in languages. Simple. How was it noised abroad? They were, man, look, I just heard Mark, man. Mark's in there speaking Spanish. You know Mark don't speak Spanish. Man, look at here. Man, I was over here, man. And Jesse's speaking in another language, man. Well, what language is it? I don't know. Sound like he's from Turkey or something. I don't know, man. Come, you gotta come hear this. You gotta come see this. So then they all ran in there to see, because they was confused. How is it that every man heard them speak in his own language? And that's 2 and 6. So we're going to 7 now. And they were all amazed. How were they amazed? They were amazed because these people don't speak this language. And they marveled. Wow. When you see the word marveled, that means he was just standing there like, wow. That's what marveled means. It's not something super spiritual. It's just simply means that he was wowed. It wowed him. And then they started saying one another, look, aren't these men from Galilee? How is it that we hear every man speaking in our own language from where we were born? Even down to the dialect, the little country dialect where I'm from. How is it? Listen, Parthians. Parthia is another town, is another state, is another city, is another country. Medes, the Medians, that's Medes and the Persians, right? That's out around Babylon, right? So you look at your map and see where Israel and Jerusalem is, and then look and see where Iraq and Iran is. That's a long ways away. The Elamites from Elam, dwellers in Mesopotamia, also from Judea. They was right there in Judea, but then Cappadocia, and then Pontus, and then Asia. Look, it don't stop there. Phrygia and Pamphylia, and in Egypt. And you know Egypt is a good ways away. In Libya and Cyrene. And strangers from Rome. These Jews and proselytes from Crete and the Arabians. All of these people, these scattered houses of Israel, all of these Hebrews from all of these cities, living in all of these places, heard them speak. See, because these were not Hebrews that were born in Judea. These were Hebrews that were born in these cities. That's why they spoke those languages, because they was born there. Just like you and I were born here in the United States of America. Do you speak Hebrew? No, I speak American English. I don't speak Hebrew. Well, not yet anyway. And if you're born in any of the Caribbean islands, you're not going to speak American English. And if you do, you're going to speak it in a broken way. Because the Jamaicans speak Patois. That's a whole nother language. You go to Puerto Rico, and there's some descendants of slaves in Puerto Rico that speak some Latin type thing going on over there, broken with Hebrew. Go down to Bolivia and hear what they're talking about. They speak some broken Portuguese with some Hebrew in it. So all of these men came from all these different places, but they were all Israelites. It says right there that they were Jews and proselytes. In other words, that means that there was real Hebrews and those that had converted to Hebrewism. Strangers of Rome. How are you a stranger of Rome? You were born in Rome. Paul himself was a stranger of Rome. Paul said he was a Roman citizen. He was born there, but he's a Benjamite. Okay? And they were all amazed and were in doubt, saying one to another, what does this mean? How is this? What's going on here? And then others mocked it, saying, oh man, these Negroes, they just drunk. They drunk. They're full of new wine. And then Peter had to stand up and speak on it. We're not going into that, okay? I'm just showing you that this is the Hebrews. This is the Hebrews that this is happening to. Okay? And why is that? We got to go into that because Peter spoke on it. We got to go into that. Okay, so let's go into that. Peter stood up with the 11 and he lifted up his voice. He like you can see him putting his hands in the air saying, wait a minute, man, wait a minute, wait. Hey, y'all, hold up. Listen. You men of Judea, all of you that dwell in Jerusalem, be this known unto you and listen to my words. These men aren't drunk, not as you suppose. Seeing, but it's only the 3rd hour of the day. I mean, we only been woke for 3 hours. Who gets up and drink at this hour and be drunk at this hour? They're not drunk. But this is that Joel was talking about, the prophet. That it should come to pass in the last days, says Yahweh, that I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, on your sons and your daughters, and they shall prophesy. And your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. I dream dreams all the time now. And my servants and my handmaids I will pour out in those days of my spirit, and they shall prophesy. And I will show wonders in heaven above and signs in the earth beneath. What are the signs that he's showing in the earth that we can see right now, people? Can we see blood? Yep. Can we see fire? Yep. Can we see vapor and smoke? Yep. We see all of that. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood. We done seen the blood moons. Haven't seen the sun turned into darkness yet. But that's coming. This is not in any kind of order of continuity, just letting us know that this is coming. We're going to see this before that great and notable day of Yahuwah come. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call upon the name of Yahuwah shall be saved. You men of Israel, hear these words. Yashua of Nazareth, a man approved of the Most High God, among you by miracles and wonders and signs, which the Most High did by him in the midst of you, as you yourselves also know. Him being delivered by the determinate counsel and the foreknowledge of the Most High, you have taken, and by wicked hands you've crucified him and you've slain him. Okay, so we're going to leave that right there. And so basically what we wanted to get to and what we want to talk about in this last 2-hour situation is the fact that the D.N.A. bears it out. The D.N.A. proves it. The D.N.A. shows it. I'll have better lighting next time. When it starts to get dark, you'll be able to see me. But the D.N.A. bears it out. This is who we are. I showed you my D.N.A. I showed you what the maps say. This is what it is. I don't care if you don't like it. It don't matter if you don't like it. Actually, I love it that you don't like it. I'm glad that you're mad. Because you see, I know who I am now. And I can prove it to you. And my challenge to you is to prove that I'm not. And since I know you can't do that, that's why I know you're mad. And that's why I'm glad you're mad. Because you should be mad that you've been lied to. Hell, I was so mad I had to go find out. And then I was so mad I had to prove it. And now that I know it, I don't have to believe anything because I know it. And I can move in that. And you need to be able to move in yours. I don't have a problem with you believing in the same God I believe in. I don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, I'm glad you believe. And so I'll worship with you when you worship. I'll play with you when you play. But you see, the scripture says that if we're going to worship him, we got to do it in spirit and truth. We got to do it in spirit and we got to do it in truth. Otherwise, there's no point in you doing it because you're doing it as a lie. It's a lie. Christianity is a false religion. There were no Christians when Christ was walking the earth. Understand and realize that this is a Hebrew truth. Always has been, always will be. And as long as you decide and continue to live in Christianity, you're living a lie. Prove me wrong. That's my challenge to you. All right, so I'm out of here. I love you, family. You know, it's a good thing. It's a great thing. I like coming in here. I like hanging out with you guys. It's a good thing. It's a great thing. So I'm going to be up out of here. Until next time, peace.